As it was offered in previous video, today we will cover development and adding Maxif function to Excel 2016 and 2010. However, if you are Excel 2019 user, I have a special bonus, absolutely new function for you in the end of this video, so make sure you have watched it till the end. Let's start. Before creating user-defined function, let's check out which elements we need to consider while programming in Visual Basic for application. So first, let's check out the any ifs function structure. It consists of three elements. First, this is range to analyze. Next is conditional range. And the last one is logical structure. We are taking the value from the range to analyze, then checking out if respective value in conditional range fits logical structure, then we take this item from the range to analyze in our calculations. Together, conditional range and logical structure creates a criteria. Any if function can accept more than one criteria, so that we need to consider that our function needs to accept one, two, or more items that we are going to use as a conditions. Next one is the logical structures we are going to use. I have identified 5 of those. There's more or equal, less or equal, and specific value that we are going to check out in conditional range. As a result, now let's check out what is the algorithm of any if function. Everything starts with a step number 1, where we take next element of range to analyze. Then we check if value match the criteria. Next, we do specific calculations and return back to the next element. So we are having a loop that goes through the whole elements in the range to analyze, checks the respective values in condition range, and check if it matches the conditions. As a result, now we can create an algorithm to write our function. So first, we need to create a function that can accept scalable inputs. Next one, we need to provide error handler and function returner. After that, we are going to prepare and apply calculations. We are going to parse logical statement and check if our value from conditional range fits our logic. As a result, we are clearing and testing our algorithm. And as it was offered in the beginning, I'm going to present you today new functions and will engage you to create your own examples. So let's start with the step number 1. So to start creating our personal user-defined function, we need to create additional module in the file we would like to have it containing. So here I have moved to Visual Basic for applications. To do that, you need to use the shortcut Alt F11, and after that you need to select Insert and Module. Now there is already an area created where you can start coding your function. So we are creating a function Maxifs, and let's keep it for blank. As you can see, it's automatically added and function, so we don't need to close it anymore. In the brackets, we now need to provide the parameters we are expecting our function will accept. So first one, this is going to be a range to analyze, and this is going to be preset as range. We need to define the type of the parameter we are looking here for. And the second parameter, this is going to be a conditions range. As you remember, we were having a separate block where we are talking about criteria, and it should contain 2 main blocks. This is conditional range and condition itself. However, to make it scalable, and the point here that we can accept several and not limited to anything that more than one, we are going to create a conditions array, and we are going to set it as variant. However, to make it scalable, we now need to make sure that it's going to be accepting infinite number of parameters. So to do that, we need also to get another option that's going to be a parameter array, and it automatically has been colored to blue one, so it already accepts that it's going to be scaled. So this is a basic setting up, and we are ready to move to the next block. So before we are going to go to more detailed calculations, we need to create some essential infrastructure. So first I have created a small checklist that we need to create here and to make sure it's operating. First, we need to make sure that our function returns the value of the calculations to the cell where it's provided. By default, any function returns it in the following way. We are creating a line where we are adding the name of the function and making it equal to the results of our calculation. As soon as we are going to use the same code in several different circumstances, we are going to create calculations through the temporary value where we are going to store the results, and only in the last line we are going to return the values already back to the name of our function. So to do that, I'm going to create a temp value and I'm going to declare it immediately. I'm going to make it variant because probably we will need it to use for storing the codes, the storing text, storing numbers, or different symbols from different lengths. On top of that, I would like also to emphasize that probably we may have a condition that's going to be not fulfilled. So we need to check if there's at least one calculation has been done. To do that, I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call it change control, and I'm going to make it boolean. So it's going to be either true or false. I'm going to make it equal to false from the beginning, so when we are going to have any calculations done, we are going to make this change to this variable. How to use it? We are going to create a conditional block around the returning line, and it's going to be simple as the following. We are going to make it change control, if change control, and as you remember, by default it's already false. So if there is nothing has been calculated, not any of the lines has been used, it will be equal to false. So it's not going to be performed. It's going to be there. That's why we don't need any equal, more or less, or other logical constructions signs here. And we're going to proceed to Maxifs equal to temp value. Now we also need to add the following, that we are going to exit function as soon as it's been done, as in the next line we are going to create an error handler. I'm going to create an anchor, and I'm going to do the same thing that we have done for creating the returning function. So I'm going only to return a specific error, and I'm going to use specific function to do that. Moreover, there is already predefined variables by the system, so by default this function will return value statement as an error, and we already have it here created and easy to be used. So the last checkpoint item that we are having, that we need also to check conditions in array lengths. So as you remember, conditions contains a sequence of condition range and condition itself. So we are going to do the following, and for that purpose I'm going to also declare an additional variable that I'm going to name dimension, and it's going to be integer because this variable will store the length of the conditions array. As soon as we are having array, we may access to the top range. We can do it with ubound function, and now I'm going to provide conditions. As soon as we have done it, I just noticed that we have here missed I, and as we are starting from 0, so if we are having 2 items on the list, it will be equal ubound, or upper bound of the range will return was 1. So to make it showing us the actual number of items on the list, we are going to add 1 so that it will represent 2 items. The next block will actually check if dimension is even. To do that, we are going to do the following: if dimension mode 2. So this part will check results of dividing dimension by 2 if there is going to be at least one value. In our case, it can be either 1 or 0. 1 will be representing true statement, and in this case we are going to go to error handler from the beginning, and only then we are going to complete the end if statement. If we are going to have results as 0 when dimensions are going to be equal to 2, 4, 6, 8, it will be just ignored, and we are going to proceed further for the calculation as such. Let's move there. So before creating calculations of Maxif function, we will create a simple max function. The logic of max function is rather simple. There is several steps. First, we need to identify the minimum value from the whole range. And after that, we are going to take each value from the range and we are going to compare it with the minimum value. If current item is bigger than minimum value, we are going to reassign it, and then we are going to progress further until we have passed through the whole items in the range to analyze and identified the maximum based on the comparison. This is required to be built this way as we are going to implement the conditions in the next part, so it probably will take us some time to or some conditions that will fail to compare each value in the range. To do that, we are going to create a temp value and equal to worksheet function. We're selecting minimum one. And as a parameter, I'm going to provide range to analyze. Now temp value contains the minimum value in the whole range. After that, we are creating a loop for each analyzed value, new variable that I'm going to define just in a few seconds. Analyzed value in range to analyze. So as it been offered, let's declare it. It's also going to be range as a common range to analyze parameter. Now we need just not to forget to create a next statement, and this is going to be just another analyzed value. So as it's been discussed, we are going to create an if statement, and if analyzed value is bigger than temp value, then we are going to make temp value being equal to analyzed one. As you remember, afterwards we are going to use additional parameter that's going to be change control that we are expecting that's going to be changed if there's going to be at least one calculations done. So this is exactly where we are going to add it. So change control and make it equal to true and if. So what does this block overall will do? Not only temp value will return us the maximum value, we are also having trigger to set up launch, so that we are going to have Maxif returning not an error as it was done previously if we haven't done this line or this calculations here. And now it will return us temp value as such. This is rather essential things that we have done here to move now to parsing conditions from the conditions array. So this is the most interesting part, as we are going to parse our logical statement. To explain you the logic of the following calculations and the coding we are going to create now, I have created a short animation that will explain you the whole logic that we have put behind parsing the code. So we are going from the opposite logic. We are creating a technical variable that we are going to make true, and afterwards we are going to go in rows through different conditions and check if this specific condition is fulfilled. In our case, we are going to start with condition A. If it's fulfilled, we are keeping our variable as true. If conditions B is same, condition C same, and only if our final statement is remaining true, we are going to use our analyzed value from the range to apply in the calculations. However, from the just opposite logic, if we are going to have at least one condition is not fulfilled, we are going to convert our technical variable to false, and instead of taking our analyzed value to the calculations, we are going to skip it. So this is a logic we are going to create now in a code. So to apply everything that we just heard, we need to create several variables, and we are going to declare them now. So first, we are going to create the first variable that will contain true-false statement. We are going to make it equal to boolean, and we are going to change it just internally in our for each statement, so it's going to be in the beginning. So we are going to make it equal to true. Next one, we are going to create an I as integer, as this is going to be a variable we are going to use in our loop for going through the whole conditions. Next one, I would like to ease my life, so I'm going to declare C2 for second conditions, or the specific item that we are going to search in our conditions range, and we are going to make it as variant, because it may contain text, it may contain values, it may contain numbers, everything. And one more, this is not that obvious, but we are going also to create a dim tech count as variant. This item we are going to use to align everything that we have in condition range with the range to analyze. So this is going to be a value that's going to loop together with for each cycle. And we are going to start with making it 1. So now we are having first conditions already preset here. Let's start with first going through all the conditions that we are having in our conditions range. So we are going to start with I equal to 0, 2, dimension -1. As you remember, dimension by default has been extended by one item that was required to represent the amount of items in it, but now we are going to stick to the top index of the array, and we are going to make step equal to, because we are expecting that there is a sequence of range and condition, range and condition. And not to forget, we are going also to create a next I part here. So as it's been mentioned, I'm going to make C2 equal to condition I plus 1. So this is going to return the specific value, for instance, more than 10, or banana, or less and equal than 15. So this is going to be a specific value that we are going to store here, because we are going to actually check out which item it starts with, and if it starts with more or less symbols, if we're having their equal sign as a second symbol. So this is exactly what we need this variable for. So to parse it, we will create a select case solution tree, and we are going to use a left part of C2 for a one symbol length. So that means that we are checking the first symbol in the conditional range. Therefore, we may have three different options. It may be less sign, more sign, or case else that will represent a fixed value that we are going to search in the condition array. So in the next part, we need to check if actually the second symbol of C2 is not equal sign or equal sign as such. To do that, we are going to create another if statement. We are going to use mid function that you probably have used in standard Excel functionality. We're going to take C2 starting from second symbol, and we're going to take it only, therefore the length of the whole item is going to be 1. And we need just to check if it is equal to equal sign. So if it's going to be equal, we are going to do the following. We are going to compare in the current circumstances that the value from conditional range is more than actually the condition value that we have provided to our condition statement. What does it mean? That means that we are going to take from the conditions from I item, and we're expecting that this I item is a range. Next one, we are going to take tech count, so that will actually provide the row in this conditional range, conditional array. And if this specific value is bigger than the right part, so we are going to separate now all extra symbols as less and equal. So therefore we are going to take C2, and as length we are going to take again, we are going to calculate the length of this line, because it can be variable. We are taking the len function and we are extracting 2. So as we have it received now, we are going to receive the text. So to make it actually number that we can compare, we are going to insert it into the integer function or int. If this function is going to be true and we are falsing the conditions that we are looking here for, we need to make sure that def conditions will be changed to false. As you can see, I have taken it all together into the one line, therefore I don't need the end if statement here. If the second symbol is not an equal sign, so I'm going to do pretty same, and this is something that I'm going to use here for a while. We need to check that if condition in our condition array is bigger or equal to our condition statement, then we're also going to change the def conditions. And now we are going to end if. As you can see, the logic is pretty simple, so I'm going to copy paste it. And as soon as we have moved now to a more statement, we just need to change the logic in our conditions. Therefore, we should receive 4 different statements that can trigger our def conditions to the false statement. So the last part, this is where we are talking about having specific value. So there can be a price from the market, and we are having the prices from different vendors, and we would like to check only the maximum price for bananas. Therefore, we are going to use for that purpose case else, and here we are going to take it pretty simple. So if conditions I tech count is not equal to C2, or specific value that we are having pre-stored previously, so then we are going again to make def conditions equal to false. And after that we may finally end select. So as soon as we have in this particular part checked that we have fulfilled all the conditions, we also need to now implement it here, so that we are taking into consideration only item that has been fulfilled in the conditional statements. So therefore we are going to create here pretty same as we have done for change control. We are going to take a def count def condition statement, and only if it's true we are going to do the calculations and close an end if. So here you can see that, for instance, if you are checking for the maximum price of some specific item and there is no this item on the stock exchange or on the specific market, then this condition will not be fulfilled because we are not going to receive it here, and this is not going to be completed. So the change control will not change to true statement. As a result, this statement is going to be ignored, and we are going to jump directly to the maxifs equal to the error. So this is the whole logic that you can see now on the screen, and you may play with it maybe differently, or provide your proposals how we can improve the conditional range. However, this is pretty working, and now let's check and test the results. To test our formula, I have started Excel 2016 to avoid overlapping the original function that is available in Excel 2019. So first, we are going to create equal sign, and we'll start inserting the function. As you can see, originally there is only 2 functions available, that is max and max a, and now we have also available maxifs. but I'm going to fulfill it with the same conditions as we have used it in original video so that we can see if it actually allows us to see any results. So now we have completed our function with original presetting, and when I'm going to hit enter, they're probably gonna be seen nothing. So we have received an error that we have predefined it as value, and now let's check if this will complete the whole range. And we have received the whole range returning errors. That means that we have some defects in our coding. Returning back. So few things to start with, that we have missed following line, application volatile. That will allow our functions to change every time we have any changes in the condition range. Going further, if we haven't done any repetitive task, especially we need to check everything that we have copied. So first, a defect that I have noticed that we have here -2 for both, but for the first line, we are having need to exclude less sign and equal sign, so it's correct that we are having 2, but for this one we need to exclude 1 and 1. Good. Next check, we need to see if we are having actually all the variables behaving correctly, and if we were paying much more attention on def conditions, I conditions are maintained through our loop. We're having tech conditions that should be maintained manually, and exactly, we have missed the loop for them. Therefore, we need just to make additional line here to iterate it by 1, as we are having through each item in the range to analyze. So these 3 defects, let's now check out if it's behaves correctly now. So we have received results for everything that's more than 30 days, and by the logic of the whole equation we were taking max recovered per basket. So therefore we need to check if actually we are having all the data available. Let's see how many items we are having in recovered for the basket more than 15 but less than 30 days. So to do that, I will need to select total recovered, exclude everything that's equal to 0, and check if we are having anything more than 15 but less than 30. And as you can see, we're having the first item on this list is 32. So that means that there is no any items that we can use. That means that our functions operating correctly. So this is a logic how to create a Maxif function and to add it to your Excel table in Excel 2016 or Excel 2010. Now let's check out the bonus function that I would like to share with you. So now we are going to learn how to create user-defined function based already on pre-coded ifs function that we can use to create any opportunity or any calculation we are looking forward in our everyday work. I'm going to share with you one example that is going to be concatenate ifs function. This is going to be an easy example. We're having action log with list of actions, their due dates and responsibles, and we're having the date of the next meeting that's happening today. I would like to receive in F2 cell name of people who have actions before the meeting. Probably you have already noticed several of them. This is going to be Olivia, Ethan, and Emma, but we would like that the function will confirm it here. How to create it? First, we are going to select the original Maxif function and insert it in the same module afterwards. Now I would like to change the name of our new function. It's going to be concat_ifs. And as you remember from the logic of the whole function, we need also to change it into the function returner and error handler. In terms of the logic of the calculation, we are going to concatenate names if a condition range fulfills the conditions. So nothing's happening changed. However, we are going to start not with a specific value, but we are going to start with a blank line. That is, can be provided by adding two parentheses. The next one, we are going to delete everything that we have in calculation part, and we are going to recreate it from the beginning. First, I would like to make our temp value equal to temp value, and we need to apply here ampersand because we would like to concatenate analyzed value. You have probably noticed that we are missing the separator. So I'm going to create it in the following manner. If temp value is not equal to blank line, then temp value equal to temp value and comma. Why I have created it this way? If we are going to have it done for the first time, we need to skip this step. And as you can see, we are also having if statement in one line, so there is no need for and if statements. Another point that you probably have noticed that we have also deleted the change control trigger that we are using to return the accurate value of the calculation. So therefore, I need to add it here and to make its statement true. Time to check. I'm adding equal sign, adding only few symbols, and we can see that the function is already available here. So, range to analyze is going to be the names. First condition range is going to be due date. And now we are looking everything that's less than this specific date. So now we can see that Olivia, Ethan, and Emma are on the list to provide updates from. If we are going to change the time for 1 week, let's take 28, we probably are going to see a much longer list of the people for us to provide an updates. So this is the way how to create user-defined ifs function. If you found this video useful for you, don't forget to like it and subscribe not to miss new videos. Cheers!